You are live. Hello, everybody that is here. We're just we still got another minute before this live starts. I wanted to tell everybody thank you for joining. Today's live session is all about the lease purchase program. We got 7 headings to go over. The general overview. Now, this is not ET Transport's lease purchase program. This is more of a generic. Okay, this is for all you out there that are considering one, whether you're in the US and Canada. I'll try to tell you a little bit about what we do here in Canada at ET Transport and in the US, but I'm going to make it generic, okay, for everybody out there that's looking for a lease purchase program. So, the generic program, it's going to be a little bit about an overview about the program, the lease agreement terms, the ownership transfer, truck selection and conditions, the maintenance and repairs, insurance and legal ramifications, financing and the payments of a lease purchase program, their earning potential. And I also have here a revenue and pay structure, fuel and insurance. So there's really a lot to cover. And I'm going to try to do the best that I can to answer as many questions as I can from the comments that are coming in. Okay, so first of all, just a generic overview: the lease purchase program. Who is it meant for? What is it? So basically, in a nutshell, it gives company drivers the opportunity to become an owner operator, very, very quickly without delays. So usually company drivers that want to become owner operators, they can't become owner operators. They have either bad credit or they cannot come up with a down payment. They are interested in this lease purchase program. Now, I never knew how popular this was in the US. I mean, it's somewhat popular here in Canada, but in the US, when I was in Chicago, I met with a lot of fleet owners. I'd say some fleet owners had 200 trucks, 400 trucks, 800 trucks, 700 trucks, and I met one that has 3,800 trucks, and I couldn't believe how popular this lease purchase program is in the US. Now, talking to drivers, I would say that a lot of them are not happy. A lot of them are not asking the right questions before they sign up. There are some really good companies out there, and there are some companies that could be doing a better job with this lease purchase program. So first of all, I want to say hello to everybody that has joined us. I see the comments coming in. Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Thank you for the invite. I actually sent out an email blast probably to about 4,000 or 5,000 drivers who at some point or another were interested in the program. So I said, why not, send them an email. Some people even got a text message if I have your contact info. But again, this is all about the lease purchase program. I really wanted to educate the public on, what kind of questions to ask. And I actually made, a really, 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 in detail manual of questions that you should be asking before entering a lease purchase program. So we're just going to be going through it. So if you guys actually want access to this document, in about 2 minutes, I will post it in the comments. Okay, so you'll have access to this document. The document actually has probably around 75 to 100 questions that you should be asking, and it actually it subcategorizes them into headings. So about the lease agreement, about the ownership transfer. A lease agreement really is meant for, giving a company driver the ability to earn more money through through becoming an owner operator. That's really what the program is designed for. Now, there's a lot of bad comments on a lease purchase program. I know a lot of people think it's a never ever program, but there's actually a lot of benefits to it. And I'm going to go over these benefits, why you should consider going for a lease purchase program. Now, again, it's not necessarily just ET's program. There are other trucking companies out there. There's some good companies out there that provide a decent, lease purchase program. But at the end of the day, you need to look at this as a transaction that you are buying a truck. You're just not buying it from a dealership. You're buying it from a company. And one of the most important things that you need to know is, what are you getting yourselves into? So in the US, there's a lot of drivers are getting into it, and it's more like a rental. It's more just a the lease purchase program is just a rental. It's a never-ending cycle that you lease a truck, you have your monthly payments, you're making those payments, but you never really get to own that truck. Where here at ET Transport, you actually have a bill of sale. You actually know how much you're buying that truck for. You actually know what your monthly payments are. You know what you're paying interest for for these trucks. So we have our 2021s, our 2022s, our 2020s available for the lease purchase program. And you're actually, the transaction is that you're buying a truck. Now you think about it and you say, why would it be good for the driver? Well, I think the long haul drivers are capped at around 65 cents per mile. And I think we all know that both the US and Canada are starting to crack down on the corporations and that 1099. Now, I don't know if you've seen a pay stub, what an actual truck driver makes when he's paying his, here in Canada, we have the CPP, EU, and EI, but it's approximately 35% of his salary, sometimes even 40% of the salary goes towards taxes. So one of the biggest benefits, I would say, for anybody out there that is thinking about the lease purchase program, one of the biggest benefits is the ability to work under your own corporation. You are self-employed, you have your own truck, you are paying for fuel, and you are considered an owner operator, and you will be doing your taxes, as self-employed. You will be doing your taxes as a corporation. And with that comes a ton of benefits. So even dollar for dollar, if you're making, $2,500 net every 15 days, in your corporation, or if you're making $3,500, and paying taxes, there's something to be said about, tax deferral. And there's something to be said about, doing your corporation. Through your corporation, you can expense a lot of, things that you cannot expense when you are on payroll. So it definitely gives you the ability to preserve more wealth within your corporation. And that's really, the home run of this lease purchase program. That's really the home run of being an owner operator, right? Because at some point or another, I mean, the checks are great, you're making good money, but you can see that a lot of the money is going on, personal income tax. So that's really, the crux of it is, at some point or another, you're going to want to become an owner operator. You're going to want to own your own truck. And through a lease purchase program, when you have the right lease purchase program, and when you have all the right questions to ask, just like I put in my manual, I would say that you would get yourself into the right lease purchase program where you are going to own that truck. So when choosing a truck, you definitely want a company that has options for you. So one of the things that we do here at ET Transport is, before we sign on to any lease agreement, the driver would have to work as a company driver for 30 to 60 days. That is a rule of ours, and we don't bend, these rules for anybody. And the reason that we do that, I think it would be really good for owner operators to test the company out, and also the company to test out the driver to see, listen, you're going into, a 24-month or a 36-month lease agreement. We want to know that the person that we're working with is going to be happy working here, and we want to know that the person can actually do the job. And the same thing would go, I think, for a company driver. I think it would be very, very important for you to test out not only the company, but what truck are you getting? What truck are you buying? How many times have I heard horror stories of people going to a dealership, they buy their first truck, they go on the road on their first trip, and then all of a sudden, bam, something's wrong with that truck. So one of the things that we try to avoid here at ET Transport is we try to avoid that whole, I didn't know, or the truck is not good enough. Well, you're going to drive that truck as a company driver for 30 days, for a minimum of 30 days. And only if you're satisfied with that truck, okay, and you see that fuel consumption, and you can see, how well it's been maintained, should you be signing a lease program, right? So that's really what we try to eliminate here at ET Transport. We really want the driver the ability to give the driver the ability to drive his own truck that he's going to buy, to first be satisfied with it, and then you can, buy that truck. And when you're out there looking for a job, when you're out there looking for a lease program, I think that that's a very, very valid point, that you should be testing out the truck and testing out the company before you sign on to that lease. Because what's the point of signing on to a lease and then you're driving for the company? They have their 1,000,001 deductions, just like I've seen in the US, and I've seen some of the companies here in Canada. You'd have 1,000,001 deductions on your first pay and second pay, and then all of a sudden, the driver just says, forget this is not for me. Well, you just lost a whole month's worth of work. A lot of the deductions that you have, I mean, you came out with less than 65 cents per mile once you're done with that, deal. So we try to avoid all that. We try to avoid it with this manual. We try to avoid it with the questions that we have. And I just want to go over some of the most important questions from this. I have probably around 75 questions over here. But I would say one of the most important questions is, what is the length of the lease agreement? Do you actually have a lease agreement, a real lease agreement, not a rental agreement? So for example, the lease agreement should state that this agreement is for 36 months. And after the 36 months, this is what happens. It needs to be clear cut. Okay. The goal for you is to become a lease operator and own your own truck. So ownership transfer is very, very important when you're dealing with lease agreements. You really want to ask questions on what happens at the end of the lease. How does the ownership get transferred to my name? Are there final balloon payments, right? So sometimes I've seen leases that, they drive for 6 years and after they get a brand new truck. Yes. Okay, great. It's a 6-year lease. Amazing. And then there's a $50,000 buyout. Well, after 6 years, that truck has 1.4 million, or, a million miles on it. That truck is not worth $50,000. So it's really that never-ending lease and that never-ending cycle that you're never going to own your own truck. And I hate to see that. There are multiple drivers here at AT Transport that have completed their lease, that have gotten their ownership transferred to their name. I'm actually going to be doing a video with a couple of drivers, probably maybe 3 or 4 different drivers that have finished the lease purchase program. They own their truck. And I think that it'd be really good for you guys to hear from them at what happens at the end of the lease and the whole experience about that transfer of the ownership. That's really what, hits the home run. The truck selection and condition, there's a whole probably 7 or 8 different questions here under that heading. And I think that is very important on how do you select the truck? What condition is the truck in? So I really, really, really think that, this guide is extremely helpful. We're going to put it in the comments and we'll post it up. We'll link it up. It's a PDF file. It's got 75 questions in it, and it's really, multiple headings here. Maintenance and repairs is also very important. So why is the maintenance and repairs very important? So it depends. I've seen multiple lease agreements, and a lot of them have different, different ways of how they do their repairs and maintenance. Some of them have the repairs and maintenance fund where they deduct, 10 cents per mile, 15 cents per mile, 7 cents per mile, and then that fund goes to repairing that truck. We here at AT Transport, we don't do that. The owner operator, if he gets into, if something happens to the truck while he's in that lease agreement, he should have the ability to pay out the repair on his own. There's no need to take away money from his salary. So the repairs and maintenance is very, very important. There's probably about 8 or 9 questions just on the repairs and maintenance, about the preventative maintenance of every company. Any normal company that has a lease purchase program, they should have a preventative maintenance. They should require any lease operator to do the preventative maintenance, but you need to know on what they do and how they do it. Insurance, right? So there's really a lot of questions on insurance and the legal requirements. That's a whole other topic. The financing, the down payment, there's so much that goes into this. What's the weekly payment of the lease payment? What's the monthly payment? What interest are they charging you? These are all questions that the lease agreement should definitely be in detail. It needs to tell you about what your monthly payments are and how they got to those monthly payments. The one thing that I hate seeing is, sometimes I go on a Facebook Marketplace or, I see trucking companies that are hiring, lease operators, and I see that, they're trying to sell a 2020 Freightliner Cascadia, and the guy says, it's $2,400 for the next 48 months. Well, you know what? That equates to $115,000 American. So I don't think there's any 2020 out there that's worth $115,000. It really needs to be the market price set for those trucks. You shouldn't be overpaying and overextending yourself just because you want to sign on to the lease program. And I see a lot of companies, that is exactly what they do. They mark up their trucks significantly, and you never end up owning that truck. So if there's any questions along If there's any questions about the payments, monthly payments, feel free to put the comments down below. I really want to take some time to answer some of those questions before I go into the earnings part of this video. So right now, any questions on financing and your monthly payments, on what they should be, feel free to put the comment down below. I also would like if you guys can please take a second and just give this video a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. It definitely does something with the algorithms of the social media platform. So if you could just take 2 seconds of your time, I try to give as much free information as I can, and if you can just take the second and put that thumbs up in the video on the top left. If you can give me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate. So now I'm going to get into some of the comments in regards to the payments. Okay, so any questions in regards to the payments, please put the comments down and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Can I still join the program? Okay, so I used to I used to work for ET Transport 6 months ago and I quit. Can I still get can I still join the program as an owner operator? Yes, you can. We would need to check on what happened or why you quit. Was it from our end? Was it from your end? But in short, yes, you can join the owner operator program, especially if we have records of you working here for the last 6 months. Have to pay for the manual. You have to pay for the manual. So I don't know. Yes, there is a fee for this manual. I think it's, I don't know, $12.99 or $14.99. I have no idea what the price is, but yes, there is a link and it'll give you the detailed version of this. I mean, I'm just going over some of the questions, but it actually has about 75 questions subcategorized. How many miles on the trucks? So our trucks in kilometers in the Canadian side, they probably have about 700-800 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers on them. If you transfer that into miles, it's probably around 400, 425, maybe some of them 500,000 miles. Some of the trucks even have 400,000 miles. Can we negotiate the rate? So when it comes to payments, we're going to get into that earnings. We're going to get into that in the second half of this video. For now, it's all about the payments. If you have any questions about payments, if you have any questions, again, it doesn't have to be ET Transport program. It could be any other program out there. If you have any questions about the lease payments on the truck and how that works, feel free to put the comments down below. Do you provide new trucks leasing? No, we do not provide any new trucks for our lease purchase program. And the reason for that is because we don't want that never-ending cycle lease. We will only give our 2021s or 22s or 20s. And the reason for that is we actually want you to have a 36-month lease, and we actually want you to own that truck once that lease is done. And what percentage would we get as a lease? So the lease agreements usually come in at around 9 to 11%, depending on who you are, depending on, I base the interest rate more on the 30 days that somebody works here. So if the guy is really good, produces the miles, has no problems with dispatch, fuel consumption is great, the guy, there's definitely an analysis that I do that's very different from anybody else, any other company. And that to me will determine whether I would even authorize 8% as interest rate if I really want the guy. Okay. And it goes based on their driving habits. I don't care about their Equifax report, and I don't care about their personal credit history. I do my own thing that in this company, and I can even gear it as low as 8% for interest rates. How does leasing work? Temporary foreign workers, can we be able to lease one? So no, as a temporary foreign worker, you would have to be on payroll and you'd have to work as a company driver. I think you're only allowed in this country as long as you're working on payroll. How does with the lease to own, will we be able to make enough to cover the cost of the payments and a driver pay? So we here at ET Transport do not allow any owner operator to have multiple lease trucks under our lease program. So if you came here with your trucks, you're more than welcome to, but we would not allow somebody to have a lease purchase program and then he wants a second, third, fourth, or fifth truck. That's not what the program is meant for. The program is meant for individual owner operators to be able to have their own truck, to be able to become owner operators and give them the earning potential that they deserve. All right. Hey, Ronen, home on a Friday? No, I'm not home. I'm actually in the office. 2024 model Cascadia is 500,000 kilometers. Around how much should it be? So it all depends on our unit. So it depends on I would have to do an analysis, but approximately ballparking it in Canadian dollars, you're probably looking at around $75,000. US dollars, you're probably looking about 60, 55, but it depends on the model. It depends also if it has a battery pack APU unit or a diesel APU unit. Most of our trucks are equipped with that. Just having that piece alone, diesel APU unit is about $16,000 today. A battery pack APU unit is about $10,000. So our trucks come, they're not the standard. They're not the basic models. All right. Any warranties? So yes, our trucks have warranty up to 800,000 kilometers. They have the level 4 warranty from Freightliner. We can get into some drivers come in. They're in the lease operator program, and then once right before that warranty expires, they do an extended warranty for another 300,000 or 400,000 kilometers or 200,000 or 300,000 miles. So there is extended warranty. All right. Lots of questions. Do you guarantee the basic miles for owner operators? So yes, if you talk to any one of our lease operators or owner operators here at ET Transport, if we would not produce the mileage, I would think that we would have hundreds of Google reviews. And I don't think that we would be doing this program if we would not have been able to keep up with the mileage for owner operators. I think one of the things that we stand for in our reputation is that our drivers are actually working. They're producing 11, 12,000 miles. I share a lot of the pay stubs with you guys on the YouTube, like on the platforms. I try to, obviously I delete all the information of the driver, but I try to give you as much information as I can about the earning potentials, because the last thing I want is to be able, to bring somebody on board and for them to not be satisfied with the program. And that's why it's important that 30 days, that 45 days, not just with ET Transport, with any company out there, you need to work as a company driver. You need to understand the culture in that, in that company. You need to understand the routes. You need to understand, and you will understand all that within the first 30 days. Do I have 0% interest available? No, I do not. There's no need for 0% interest. I don't think anybody would ever give 0% interest unless they were making it on, there's a lot of, marketing techniques to fool drivers, and a lot of these marketing techniques, they work. One of the things that I try to do is to educate and try to create awareness around things. So if somebody's selling you $100,000 truck, but it says 0% financing, but that truck is only worth $70,000, well, I mean, he already marked up $30,000. So he lured you in the 0% interest, but I'm sure like he made the money on the other end, which is selling you the markup on that truck. So what would be a good monthly payment? So I always like to keep my guys at around $2,400 to $2,600, and I'll structure it in a way to make sure that they get that. I also really like 24-month leases, so that's why I really love the 2020s, because it's a 24-month lease. That truck is owned by you. So, for example, when I see somebody here, I would say in their late 50s, early 60s, I would tell them, hey, listen, you know what? I think the 2020 is an option for you. It's a 2-year program. That truck is going to be yours. You don't need to do 12, 13,000 miles every single month. I think you need to tone it down a little bit. You should be okay with the 10, 11,000 miles, even 9,500 miles. If that truck is bought out, you will have the luxuries of taking it down a notch. You won't have any payments, and a 24-month lease is beautiful, and the 36-month lease is also great. What I don't like seeing is the 72-month leases, 6 years, 7 years. I think that is a stretch, especially on used equipment. I mean, that's just not my thing. Oh my God, big fan, sir. Abdul, thank you very much. Is there a ballpark figure for monthly lease payments? Yes. I mean, like I said, $23, $24, $2,500 is where I really like to be around. And that's how I always structure my deals, whether it's 24 months, 36 months. Sometimes if I see that, it's not making sense, I'll put a little balloon payment in the back of $10,000 or $15,000 in order to make sure those payments do not exceed over $2,500 or $2,600. I bought the extended warranty. Okay. Oh, Nicholas Oil. I think that's one of our drivers here. I see your trucks all the time on the road. How do I join? I have over 2 years over the road experience. So we do have recruiters, and our recruiters are actually a part of this live session over here. So if you have an email from me, all you have to do is reply to that email and say, hey, Ronen, I'm interested. If you're not a part of our database, so currently I think we have about maybe 12,000 drivers a part of our database. And if you just came in because you saw the live feed, you're more than welcome to send an email to sponsorship@ettransport.ca. And we would be definitely, we would get back to you. Now, also, we have our websites. I mean, if you go to ET Transport or ET Motor Freight, there's the contact us buttons, and we're extremely responsive. I know we do have a lineup right now. There is, probably a 2 or 3 month waiting list to get into our company. But again, you need to go through the proper channels. And when I see somebody that I like, when I see the experience, when I see somebody that really wants to work for ET Transport and knows, about our company, I will pick them out. Like, I mean, even if they're on the waiting list and I see somebody that I like with the experience, I will reach out to them myself, and I will call them and I'll talk to them, and I'll make them bypass that line. But again, some things about ET Transport is that we only want to hire the cream of the crop. We only want the drivers with the 3 years experience. We only want, we want to be able to see how you are for 30 days in order to make sure that you're going to be a good fit. Because the last thing I want as, ET Transport, the last thing that I would want is bad Google reviews, is people, bashing our program, people saying, oh, I don't get enough mileage. Oh, I actually want the ones that are going to rave about it, that are going to say, hey, this is a really great program. And that's what I think we have going for us. And that's why I don't want to jeopardize the integrity of that, I would say the reputation that we have. Nice office. Thank you so much. Any trucks that have over 500,000 miles is going to need an overhaul engine. Okay, so talking about overhauls, so one of the great things is, when you are signing on board with any company, you really need to make sure that they have a shop. You really need to make sure that they have I would say that they have, their own repair facilities, because the last thing you want, I don't know if any of you have seen some of my videos, but I've done videos on, the labor rates out there in the US and in Canada. I mean, it is excuse my language, it's a shit show with, $195 an hour, $225, $249 per hour. I mean, we can't afford those rates. I mean, trucking doesn't pay that much to be able to afford that much in repair bills. So I really don't think that it's, you really want a company to have the repair shops and repair facilities, because it's going to save you a ton. What is the max term that you have for the lease? I would say probably 42 is the max I would do it. So sometimes when a driver has a bigger down payment and is really persistent about wanting, a 2022 or a 2023, which is what I do not offer, for example. And then what the guy says, I do have a bigger down payment. I really want a 23. So I will extend it, and it would be the max, probably 43, 46 months. Would be the max. Do you have dedicated lanes? So here at ET Transport, our Canadian division, we have trips going to the Midwest USA and Southeast USA. We have I would say 100% of our clients, our outbound loads into the US are all customer base. So we do not work off the load boards. We're 100% customer based on the outbound. On the inbound, we're probably 50-50, 50% customers, 50% we're on those load boards. Do we have our own customers? Yes, it's always the same stuff inside those trailers. It's always the same routes. But can you work, like if you're an owner operator, lease operator, and say, I only want loads going to Georgia? So no, that wouldn't be something that we would get ourselves into. So our regions are the Midwest USA and also the Southeast USA. So Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia, I would say is definitely our lanes. And then the Midwest is our lanes. If you say to me, Ronen, I don't drive to California, well, I'd be like, it's no problem. It's not an area that we service to. Or if you tell me, Ronen, I only want Texas runs, I would tell you, I'm sorry, this company is just not for you. The last thing that I want is to promise something that we don't give. And I think that as drivers, you guys should also be honest on what it is that you want. So if you're a company driver and all you want to do is going to Texas and back, you need to find that suitable company for you. You shouldn't be coming to a company that doesn't have it and then convincing yourself, oh, maybe they'll give it to me in the future, and then be upset that, oh, they don't have it or they haven't given it to me. So realistic expectations is great. Hey, Ronen, it's Sergey Serbin. Do you need paid down payment for the lease? Yes. So all of our lease, all of our trucks require a down payment. So obviously not, like the dealerships. So it's a minimum of $2,500 down for the 2020s, and it's a $5,000 down for the 2021s. Okay, and the reason that we do that is because I don't want anybody thinking that this is a walkaway lease. This is not a walkaway lease. You are going to finish paying for that truck, and that truck is going to be yours. And that's what you need to put inside your mind, that you can't. This is not the American system that, oh, you can just walk away whenever you want. Well, no, it's not. And I expect people to finish the lease that they signed on to. And again, I probably have a 96% success rate of completion. The only two drivers that did not complete is one driver had a death in the family, and the other one had to go back home, flew back home for an emergency. And those are the only two drivers that I have that did not complete their lease. Everybody else that has signed on to the lease ends up completing and finishing and owning that truck. That's the goal. Enough with the payments. Own your own truck. Be your own boss. Do whatever it is that you want with that truck. You want to work for ET, you want to work for YYZ, you want to work for BBL. Do whatever it is that you want. Work whichever company that you want. But first, get to own that first truck. Okay. And I've had also people that have gotten the 2-year-old or 3-year-old truck. They worked for 36 months. They ended up buying out that truck. They ended up owning that truck. And after a year or two, all of a sudden tell me, Ronen, I want to upgrade the truck. So yes, we would sell his truck and then we would upgrade him into a newer truck. He had a bigger down payment. But that's really the system of how you really want to own your own truck. Okay. Do you stop weekly payments when the driver is home? Do you stop weekly payments? So we don't do weekly payments. In Canada, we do every 1st and 15th. In the US, it is weekly payments. Okay. And when the driver is home, no, he still has that weekly payment that he needs to do. So what happens if the lease truck breaks down? Do you over a backup truck? So yes. So one of the beautiful things that you'll get to hear from our drivers, and if you ever see them on the road or in the truck stops, feel free to stop them. Feel free to ask them a question. We usually, one of the things that when I recruit is, how would you, because we're so popular on the social media platforms, our drivers get stopped all the time. And when they're in truck stops, people talk to them all the time. And one of the things that I like to hear is, how would they handle somebody stopping them? How would they handle somebody talking to them? Because, it is what it is. I think we're plastered all over the social media platforms. And a lot of people want to talk to our drivers to know what it is like actually working at ET Transport. So feel free to stop one of our drivers, or talk to them on the radar, or talk to them, when you see them in the truck stops. Feel free to ask them just, hey, what's it like working at ET Transport? Is it really what they say it is, or maybe it's really bad? But get the feel. And any company, not just ET, if you want to go into any other company, you should be doing the exact same thing. You should be talking to the drivers on the road. Okay. So what happens if the truck breaks down? Yes, there is a backup truck here. So for example, if your truck breaks down and needs service, and that service is going to take 48 hours or a 3-day service, so we would give you a loaner truck that you can work. Unfortunately, that you would only be able to work as a company driver at 65 cents per mile, but at least you're not down. A lot of the times, if a truck is down for 4 or 5 days, how is the driver supposed to pay off that lease? How is the driver supposed to pay off those expenses and their own personal expenses? So when you are on our lease purchase program, or even our owner operators, yes, we do have the multiple loaner trucks that we just set aside. That's just for that reason alone. What is the max term of the lease? I would say 36 months would probably be the max terms. I waited a year before leased where I'm at. Okay, so that's good. So Nicholas, I think the longer you are at the company as a company driver, the more you know and the more comfortable you feel signing that lease operator. So good for you. Do you also Volvo trucks? So the only Volvos I have, I would say, is probably 19s and 20s, but we do get them and we can provide them as an option. Is there a rate difference between lease operators based out of Moncton versus Ontario? Nope. The pay structure is the same for lease operators out of Ontario and lease operators out of Moncton. Volvo has mechanical issues. Yes, I'm aware of that. Freightliners all the way. Yep. That's what I'm paying to. Amazing. Other than lease program, can I buy ET Transport? I don't get the question. You want to buy all of ET Transport? No, it's not for sale. Do you want to buy a truck from ET Transport? They're also not for sale. We give them to, we're not a dealership here. We do give our 2020s, 2021s, and 2022s. We give them as options as lease to our lease operators that will own their own truck within 24 to 36 months. If I am already an owner operator, should I still work as a company driver to be qualified? So why would you be an owner operator and then want a lease purchase program? Are you planning on selling your truck? I would need to know a little bit more about a Tefio. I need to know a little bit more about your situation. But if you're an owner operator, would you qualify? Yes, you would qualify. Would you still need to work 30 days? Absolutely. I want to know who I'm getting myself, who's working with me, or I'd like to know how you run. The last thing that I want, you have to understand also the 30-day test period is also to figure out, will you be profitable in the lease purchase program? And that's one of the tests that I do. Right. So after 30 days, you'll come into, we'll have a team session with you, a personal one. I'd go over all of your miles. I'll see, and then I will show you what would you have made in the lease purchase program, how much more money you would have made. Now, if that formula does not give you more money than a company driver, then it just is not a good fit for either party. Why would you sign up to, somewhere that you would make less than a company driver? It just doesn't make sense, right? So I wouldn't want to put anybody in that situation. Okay. Yes, we are not getting any younger over here. I agree with that. Neither am I. Is it a good time to become an owner operator? So yes, it's actually always a good time to become an owner operator. It all depends on the company that you're going into. There are some companies that have work. There are some companies that have good contracts, and they don't get fluctuated by the U.S. and Canadian economy. If I have a 4-year, contract with auto parts, I could care less what's happening in the economy. That contract is going whether the market is up or whether the market is down. So it depends on your situation. If you are going into a company that's dependent on the open market, then yes, it might not be such a great time to become an owner operator. Okay. When am I getting the EV from Elon? I don't know. I don't have an update yet from Elon. Just a fan or for a small carrier in the US. Okay, is there an option to buy ET trucks if I am not part of the lease? No, it's not. We're not a dealership over here. Hiring area. So 3 areas that we hire out of. We hire out of Ontario, we hire out of Moncton, and we hire out of Atlanta, Georgia. Now, a lot of times we'll get requests from guys that live in Illinois. We'll get requests to guys that live in Missouri. So you have an option. Either you can come to our Atlanta terminal, or you can fly into our Ontario terminal, do all the orientation here. We'll put you in a hotel, and then once you're done your 2 or 3 days here, that's when you'll get your truck, you'll lease, you'll sign the papers, and you'll take that truck with you, and your first run is going to be into the US. But you would need to have, in any situation, you would need to have a valid passport, or at the bare minimum, an expired passport that you would be able to renew. Hiring, what are the company's safety records like? So you can check out our MC number 521228. You could see our safety scores, somewhat immaculate. I mean, obviously there could be, there's always room for improvement. We're always demanding the most out of our safety team. We're always demanding that we have a lot of contracts that we have to be under a certain threshold in order to keep that contract. So if we don't keep, a clean record, and if we don't have our, I don't know what they're called, they're like these transponders for the scales. I mean, they usually go green. But if we don't have an immaculate safety score, then we would lose a lot of our customers. So hopefully that answers the question. I have 15 years of experience. That's awesome. Looking for team driver position to get U.S. experience. Is it possible? No, we do not recruit new drivers. Unfortunately, I mean, if you are a new driver, ET Transport is just not the company for you. 3 years OTR and 5 months border crossing. I know. Email says 2 years for border crossing. Should I apply or wait to hit the border crossing? Have my hazmat toy card. Okay. So Gary, I think if you have 3 years of OTR and 5 months border crossing, that's more than enough. So you don't need 2 years of border crossing. You need 3 years of a class 1 working as a truck driver with actual trucks and trailers. And then from that, I mean, as long as you've done border crossing, it's not rocket science. You have papers, you have clearance, and you're good to go. I have 25 years of experience. Do you also have Volvo trucks for sale or just Freightliners? So I have older Volvos. I have not purchased any of past, sorry guys, past 2021. I have not purchased any Volvos. So my latest Volvo would be a 2021. Cover repair. So yes, the lease operator covers the repair. We do not have any deductions for lease operators. We did not deduct anything from them. There is no maintenance fund that we do. If something does happen to your truck, then hopefully you would have saved enough money. And again, one of the things that I do with my lease operators is I try to talk to them about building wealth within their corporations. I try to explain to them about, taxes and tax laws and what they can do and what they cannot do. And it's extremely important that, they pay themselves a salary, yet still take advantage of the corporate tax rates here in Canada and in the US, right? There's a lot that you can do as a lease operator, and there's definitely a tax strategy to it. And after you do this for about 3 to 4 years, and after you own that truck, I mean, if you make the proper steps, you really you don't have to work as a lease operator or an owner operator for the rest of your life. It's just a matter of a good plan. And I'm sure that after 6-7 years, you probably won't be in a truck anymore, and you'll still have enough passive income as long as you do the right steps. Buy truck directly, don't go for lease, and find direct loads. Sure, if you have the ability to do that, you can definitely do that. Hi, Ronen. Do you have information of what companies that good to join in for lease programs? Unfortunately, Derek, I don't want to recommend any companies because I get a lot of backlash to it. So whenever I say a company and then I have 10 or 12 guys that have a bad experience, I'm like, oh my God, I never knew this about them. So I don't like to recommend anybody. I just like to teach or create awareness around how you can, filter out good and bad, what you can do in order to try to find, a company, or what questions that you can ask, which is very important. Guys, 75 questions. Like, I really put a lot of time into this, and I feel like it'll definitely help you guys, whether you're coming to ET or anywhere else. You really need to go through these questions because, the lease operator program is it can be a really, really good lease as long as it is done properly. We've got 4 DD15s all over 500K and no need for overhaul yet. Okay. Earth is home. That's ridiculous. Earth is home. That's ridiculous. Any dedicated run US to Canada? US to Canada? Yes, we do have customers from US to Canada with a lot of drop trailers in the US. Do you have an age limit on tractors? Say 2020. I pay it off in 1 year. Can I lease with you in 2025? So we still have options for 2000, and I think there's 118 and maybe 2019s. I mean, our trucks are in extremely good shape, and one of the reasons is because we try not to idle any of our trucks. So the amount of hours, even though it's a 2019, the amount of hours is very, very minimal and compared to other 2019s. So is there an age limit? Yes, there probably is. I mean, we wouldn't want an owner operator to come here with a 14, 15, but we do allow for them as long as we do the inspection on them to see if it's all good. Is there an option to buy ET trucks if I'm not at least? Didn't I already answer that question? Okay, guys, lots of questions here. Wow, these questions do not stop. I'm going to skip through 9 years experience. Okay. Do you have home weekly? I am in Texas, 2 years experience. Unfortunately, we're still fairly new in the US and cannot offer that luxury that drivers want, which is being home. I mean, in Canada, we have that you can do your reset at home every week. In the US, unfortunately, we don't have that yet. We're trying to get to it. So as the time goes by and I start bidding on my current customers, their annual RFPs, as I start winning more and more lanes, then I'll be able to offer less and less time on the road for drivers. But I know that that's what they're looking for, and I also feel that it's a great work-life balance when you're able to reset at home all the time, or at least every second reset. Every company refuses to hire new drivers. What will happen when there's no drivers left? So, not every company refuses to hire new drivers. I actually do have I think I created a list of probably 10 or 12 companies that are hiring and recruiting new drivers. And I also have their contact information of the recruiters. So if you do need that, you can definitely log into truckingacademy.us and find that template. But I have created it in the past. And I know that there's lots of people that are getting that template because I see the orders of it. Okay. What is good ratio between the truck mileage and engine hours? I don't know that. I think I did a video on that where I went into the analytics, but unfortunately, off the top of my head, I don't know that. Policy runs your brain. I did OTR for 6 months before I woke up and realized I made more money working local construction. Okay. Nicholas Earl. Any manuals? So no, unfortunately, we do not have any manuals in our Freightliner Cascadia is the best truck ever. Joseph, thank you for that comment. Hi, I live in New Glasgow, Nova Scotia. Is it for you a Moncton area or live too far from Moncton regarding your expectations? So no, we actually have a lot of drivers from Halifax and from I would say from all over the Maritimes, even from PEI. So I don't. It is not a problem to live in New Glasgow as long as you can make your way to the terminal in Moncton. That's where the orientation is going to be. And there is actually a beautiful facility that's being built in Moncton, New Brunswick. It's about 25,000 square feet, and it's going to be our new terminal in Moncton. It should be ready in, I would say, May 2025. All right. Finance my truck. Thank you. Okay. Afraid of getting into a situation where I'm always sitting waiting on a load out in the US where I'm not being paid to sit. Had to get off the OTR because of the situation. I hear you. There's a lot of companies that are dependent on the load boards, and those load boards, I mean, I'm sure we all know that there's a lot of fluctuations in the market. Can I choose if I want only West or East Coast? On West or East Coast. So again, we do have the Midwest USA and Southeast USA. Can you choose only to go out West? Probably not. Not in our company. So unfortunately, I mean, yes, we do have the loads from PA and from Illinois going into Alberta and BC. But again, I don't want to promise something that I can't deliver. So if you are from the West Coast and you need to be home every week or week and a half, then I don't want to get into a situation where I promise something that I cannot do. And unfortunately, I cannot get you home that frequent. Or if you only want West Coast loads, I'm just not the company for it because I can't promise you that. Hit the thumbs up, folks. I would highly appreciate that. Jimmy, thank you very much. Guys, you've been here for 45 minutes listening to this. I've asked you twice already to hit that thumbs up button. And currently there's only 12 guys that did it. There's about 200 people that are watching this right now on the live. So please, guys, take a quick second and just hit that thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Roger, his comment, do I hire graduates? Unfortunately, I do not hire new graduates. What I do have is I have a couple of owner operators that occasionally like to take new students with them. So new graduates with them. So I would have to make sure that you I know my 2 or 3 owner operators that are willing to take the new graduates. You would have to meet their standards and their criteria as more of a personality thing, just to make sure that that you would get along. But I do have occasionally where we take new graduates, and you have a driver trainer, and it's like a 6-month program that they do, and basically they teach a driver everything from start to finish. So we do have that. No, Roger, is it good to help you guys? Okay. Whoop whoop. Thank you, Roger. Are you employing company drivers at the moment? So there is currently, we do hire company drivers for sure. I think there's about a 2-month waiting list to get into our company. I do also know that we're getting our brand new trucks, the 2025s. I think there's about 7 or 8 more left that are coming in. So yes, I would highly recommend that you get on that, on that list, because sometimes it's just a matter of, hey, there's 7, 8 guys ahead of you, but then a whole whack of trucks come in and we need to fill in those seats. And the first people that they call is the ones that are on this list that we already have there. The beginning, at least we have their CVRs, abstracts on file. We have their, at least the initial interview, the pre-screen done. So you definitely want to get on that list if you want to come on board with ET. All right, guys, I think I have a whole nother section to this, but I think with only 13 minutes left, I'm going to respond to more of the comments, and I'm going to do one more live session probably next week about the earnings of lease operators, and where I'm going to share also pay stubs and paychecks with you. I really want you guys to understand how the payroll system works and how the lease operator system works. And the same thing in the US, it's obviously the 1099 versus the W9. you really need to understand how much money is going on taxes and what you can do under the lease purchase program. So I'm really sorry that I didn't expect this many questions coming in. There was a whole second section about this. It's the earnings and the money that you would be making, under a lease purchase program. And I'm going to hold that off to next time. I'll probably answer, some more of the comments here. So I am on a lease program, and for me, the way I run, it works well. It's not for everyone, but it can work. You're right. There's a ton of people under the lease purchase program that it works for them, but there's also a lot of people that are just not fond of them. It's paid miles or percentage. So you actually have an option here, because in Canada, everything is about stability. Everything is about mileage. A company driver here or somebody on the lease operator program, they could care less about fluctuations in the market. They could care less about empty miles and loaded miles. The driver wants to know he's getting paid for every single mile, and that is the program that we have. In the US, it's very, very different. It's all on a percentage basis, and I hate that. Why do I hate that? Because shitty companies get away with with not producing mileage and not producing loads. What do I mean by that? So if I am a fleet owner in the US and I have 5 or 6 guys under my lease purchase program, and then the economy drops a little bit, there's no difference to me as that fleet owner if I did a great job or if I did a shitty job, because that owner operator pays for every single expense in the US. Where in Canada, or the Canadian system, is the driver doesn't care. The person on the lease purchase program, he doesn't care about the fluctuations in the economy. He doesn't care about the rate per mile. He doesn't care about how much the broker paid the company. He knows he's getting paid for every single mile that the driver runs, and that's all he's focused on. He's creating miles, and the dispatcher is creating is making sure that he's running properly, because the company pays for the insurance, the company pays for the plates, the company pays for the trailer. The only thing that the lease operator pays for is the lease, the lease amount and the fuel. That's it. That's all the owner operator pays for. And in the US, I see pay stubs and there's so many deductions: ELDs, truck, trailer, the reefer fuel. They pay for the for the plates. They pay for the tolls, for the faxes, for the bridges, for everything they pay for. Where in Canada, it's just not like that. So I am trying to do a poll and to introduce the system into the US. When I talk one-on-one with drivers, they love the Canadian system. The Americans love the Canadian system. They wish they had this kind of program in the US, and I'm trying to come out with it slowly. I'm just working out the numbers and making sure that it's a perfect balance for everyone. Okay. Does anybody have any comments about that in particular? I'm better driving than most people. I'm a better driver than most people in this world. I'm better than AI. Thanks for the stream, Ronen. Not a problem. AI versus humans. Initial requirements for owner-operator lease purchase program. The initial requirements is honestly just call in and we'll do a pre-screen and we'll see if you're a good fit for this company. If I have a load board and fuel surcharge, fuel discounts and other discounts, Landstar give. Okay. Is that a question or just a comment? Or just, can you get me home every weekend regardless of where I run? If you are in the Greater Toronto area, if you are here in Canada, I can get you home every week to do a reset. If you're in Moncton, it's every second or third. If you are in the US, it's usually every, I would say 2 weeks you can come home. I love your videos, Joseph. Thank you very much. I do put a lot of time and effort into the videos. And there's a whole team here behind me running these videos. It's not a one-man show. We are probably now 6 full-time employees to make sure that you guys get to see the content that you love. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Can I be a lease program from there? Absolutely, you can. So it's the same system over there. You choose your 2020, you choose or your 2021. You would have to work as a company driver for 30 days. After that 30 days or within those 30 days, I will do an assessment with you. We'll get on the Teams call. It'll be a one-on-one thing. We'll talk about your mileage. We'll talk about your driving habits. We'll talk about how you are with dispatch, and everything checks out. You are good to go. It's just a matter of signing the documents. Then you're a lease operator, and now you can start at least, working as a lease operator / owner operator. I prefer night driving. Can you provide that option? We do have some night drivers in our company. Yes, I believe you can, but you would have to talk to the recruiters. then how come the U.S. drivers make more money? Well, to tell you the truth, the U.S. drivers make more money because their currency is a lot stronger than ours. Their currency is about $1.37 right now, and that's why they make more money. I would love to drive for you. Joseph, thank you very much. I really appreciate the positive feedback. Thank you all. How can I get in touch with you, Ronen? Would you be able to DM me after this is done? Jamie, if you can send an email to sponsorship@ettransport.ca requesting to talk to me, or just let me know what it is about. I'd be more than happy to reach out to you. Just make sure that your contact information is there. Thanks for the invite. Please send me the invite for your earnings session next week. Guys, so I'm going to try to do the earnings session. There's a whole second part of this video. It's all about money. It's all about comparisons. It's all about, a payroll driver versus a lease operator. I mean, I had a whole thing ready for you guys here, and unfortunately, I could not get into it. And this might actually, with all the comments coming in and questions, this might actually take 3 sessions. So I try to do it at around lunchtime because I feel like people can just tune in. I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of questions, and I really try to go over the questions and answer them to the best of my ability, because I feel like, the audience needs to, they need somebody to respond to these questions. There's some great questions coming in, and I'm sure when it comes to the financing, and I'm sure when it comes to payments, and I'm sure when it comes to the earning potentials, there's going to be at least double the amount of comments over here, because we are going to break down what it is, the difference between working under payroll versus working under a lease purchase program, and we'll talk about the tax implications of both of them. Okay, so you guys can see what it's like and how much money you're going to save and where you're going to. The lease purchase program will give you that benefit of tax postponement, and that's really the name of the game. You talk to anybody that's somewhat wealthy, has multiple homes, building wealth within your corporation, it's called tax deferral. That's what you want to do. And working under a corporation legally. Now, I'm not talking about those company drivers that are pretending that they're on a Driver Inc. program. Forget about that. I'm talking about legally working under a corporation. You need a lease program, or you need to be an owner operator, but you also need guidance on how to set this up properly and how to save money and build wealth for yourselves. Okay. I live in Tampa, and there are company opportunities being dispatched from Atlanta terminal. I live in Tampa. Are there company opportunities being dispatched from Atlanta terminal? So Tampa is a really, really, really tough spot. And I mean, we do have some drivers from Florida. They come to Atlanta, do the orientation, and then they go, every so often we get them a load to Florida. They get to go home. But Tampa is a really, really tough area just because there's a lot of freight going there, but nothing coming out of there. So, but there are some opportunities. Yes. Company double broker loads. It's the company double broker loads. It's the company. I don't know what that means, but okay. Following you from Netherlands. Love your content. I wish there was someone doing what you're doing in Europe. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the feedback. Is it possible to become an owner operator with a closed work permit with 1.5 years of Canadian? So I do not deal with anybody that has work permits or is on LMIAs or is on what's it called? The reason why, because I truly believe that the reason that you were brought into this country is because of you were brought into the country in order to work under payroll and in order to pay taxes into our economy. So I don't believe in hiring somebody that's on a closed work permit that was brought to this country in order to work as in a certain trade, whether it's trucking or anything else. And that's why I would not hire somebody that's on a work permit or a closed work permit and allow them to work for my company under the lease purchase program or even an owner operator. So I do apologize. You probably don't agree with, or some of you might not agree with me, but unfortunately I cannot do that. Are there only Canadian lanes, no USA? So all of our lanes are cross border. They're Canada, US lanes. Hi, Ronen. I would like to speak to you about financing part. How can I contact you? You are more than welcome to email me at sponsorship@ettransport.ca and send me an email there. What does a Canadian owner operator make a month for you? So make sure, guys, anything that has to do with financing, anything that has to do with pays, it will all be shown to you in my next video, okay, in my next live stream. So the next live stream is all about earnings. We're going to compare company driver, we're going to compare lease operator, same mileage. We're going to compare the both of them, and you guys will see the difference with both pays, and then we can decide together on which one is more profitable or better. It's a smart decision. Thank you. Under the lease program, can a driver dispatch themselves, and do you have reefers? So we do have reefers. Can a driver dispatch himself? No, he cannot. We do have dispatchers here that would dispatch you loads, based on your availability and based on based on our lanes and what terminal you're going to be working out of. On the lease program post-trip, do we need to park the truck at ET yard or our choice? So on the lease purchase program, it depends which terminal you're working out of. So we have a Milton yard, we have a Concord yard, we have a Moncton, New Brunswick yard. We also have a Atlanta, Georgia yard. You can take the truck home as long as you are empty. So we wouldn't allow you to park it at your own facility. It's only when you're empty you can take the truck and the trailer home. What load boards do you take loads from? So we use DAT and we use LoadLink are the two load boards that we use. Thanks for this great session. Not a problem. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And again, guys, stay tuned to those emails. And if you're not a part of our database, guys, send an email to sponsorship@ettransport.ca. Let me know your contact info and your email address. I'll put you into our database. There's currently over, I believe, 12,000 drivers a part of our database. And you guys will get notified by email when these live sessions come out. Especially you guys want to tune into the earnings and the earning potential that I'm going to stream next week. Okay, so hopefully you guys learned something from this video and this live session. And I really hope to see a lot of you here next time. Don't forget, guys, if you could just give me a thumbs up on the video, I would really appreciate it. And I'll see you all in my next week's session. Stay tuned and be safe out there on the road.